The president has spoken with counsel and made the decision to donate his first quarter salary in total to a government entity, and he has chosen this quarter to donate it to the National Park Service. It is my pleasure, on behalf of the President of the United States, to present a check for $78,333 to the Secretary of the Interior, Ryan Zinke, and Superintendent of the Harpers Ferry Park site, Superintendent Brandenburg.
You mentioned that he was decided to give the money to the Park Service at the advice of council. Is there an issue with him making a donation to a nonprofit?
I think there was just that when given the options, he decided that there was a list of government entities that can accept donations. Ironically, it's not as easy to give money to the government as you would think. And aside from the IRS, his counsel presented him with several options, and he believed that that, as Secretary Zinke pointed out, that there was some great work being done there, especially that needed to do to restore our great battlegrounds, and wanted to do his part.
A recent ProPublica report out today revealed that President Trump can draw money from his businesses at any time without disclosing it. So on that, I have two questions.
Okay.
One, has the president withdrawn any money from his businesses since taking office? And two, can the White House commit that the president will disclose future withdrawals if they take place?
I'm not sure what he's withdrawn. I think that I'm somewhat surprised in the sense that anyone would find it shocking. A blind trust, or any kind of trust rather, the whole entire point of setting it up is that somebody can withdraw money. I mean, that's frankly part of the point of setting it up. So
then why was this change not made? It was made after.
No, you just went and started to say this change was made. I'm not aware that there was any change. Just because a left-wing blog makes the point of something changing doesn't mean it actually happened.
The president's been going to Mar-a-Lago again this weekend, has been facing calls from both officials in New York and in Florida, either to appropriate federal funds or request federal funds, which were not in the budget, for the additional security burdens that they have faced given his residences there and his travels into those places, or to reimburse those local governments out of his own pocket. Obviously, this is a president who is far wealthier than any president we've seen in modern times, and he has the capability to make those outlays. Is that something the president is considering, or has he decided to make those outlays to reimburse?
Well, I think there's a few things. Number one, the request to go to Mar-a-Lago was something that the Chinese, that was negotiated with the Chinese, and so I think this is a very high-level visit that really has a huge impact on our both economic and national security. So, secondly, the president has an opportunity. As all presidents, President Bush traveled to Crawford, the President Obama went to Hawaii often. I mean, this is not something that you can control. There is a security aspect that the Secret Service determines when the president and the family travels. That's not dictated by the President of the United States. And third is, I would know, ironically, this is a day that the president just donated a significant amount of money of his salary back to the federal government. And so, respectfully, it's like, it's at what point does he do enough? He just gave a very sizable donation.
And secondly, Senator Rand Paul has called the reports that Susan Rice ordered the unmasking of President Trump's associates a, quote, smoking gun.
Right.
Does the president agree with that characterization, and what does he think of these reports?
Yeah, I saw Senator Paul's tweet. Look, I think I want to make sure I'm clear, I'm consistent. I think we've been trying to say that from the get-go that there's been an ongoing investigation that we have supported looking into this matter. I will say that we have continued to say that I think there is a troubling direction that some of this is going in, but we're going to let this review and go on before we jump to it.
Does the White House believe Susan Rice may have done anything illegal?
I think I'm not going to appreciate the effort there. I'm not going to start going down that road. As we've said before, if we go down one road, we need to go down them all. And I think at this point, we have supported this review that we've asked for.
The fact that it's allegedly the former national security advisor, does this White House look at what she allegedly requested as a national security issue or a political issue?
Well, I'm not going to, that's a nice backdoor into the line of questioning. I think until there's a finding of that, I don't want to start getting into the motives, because we still haven't, again, me getting to the motives assumes certain things in fact that I don't think we're ready to go to yet, because that again would be getting in the middle of an investigation. I do think that there's been enough public discussion and reporting on this stuff that I'm not going to comment on this any further until those committees have come to a conclusion.
Is the White House comfortable with the nuclear option potentially being invoked?
The president said several weeks ago that this was something that he would support. We have entered a whole new league if this goes forward in terms of Democrats really going and saying it's one thing to vote against the nominee. We've seen that in the past, and I understand that. Now that there's literally going to be the first filibuster in modern times on a qualified judge that's going to end up going on the court, we have really come a long way. And I think Democrats are setting a very dangerous precedent. But make no mistake, and I believe Leader McConnell, when he says on Friday, Judge Gorsuch will be voted as the next Supreme Court justice.
Has President Trump spoken with President Vladimir Putin about the terror attack in Russia?
Not yet. I know that obviously the president of Egypt just left moments ago prior to me coming out. But I do know that, as I mentioned at the top, our teams have been reaching out.
You mentioned that Jared Kushner has a team working with him. Can you help us understand exactly what's in the portfolio and who's on the team, and I have to follow to that?
Yeah, I mean, he's announced the Office of American Innovation the other day. We named a bunch of those folks that have been part of that team, and as he looks at various aspects of government, he works with different people in the White House that oversee different parts of that portfolio, whether it's part of the team that's doing the Middle East was one thing. So you've got Jason Greenblatt, who's been traveling to the Middle East and other places to do that. There's people like Reed Cordish and Chris Liddell that are part of the team that are talking about the Office of American Innovation that he has discussed last week with respect to opioid use and others. I mean, so there is a team, depending on the subject, that is working with him, and he is providing oversight and direction.
It's our understanding that Mr. Kushner is involved with Mexico, that he's involved with Saudi Arabia, that he's involved with Canada, that he's involved with a number of different issues, China in particular.
I think that there has been, as he has made clear, initially during the transition, he played a very key role in helping facilitate a lot of those. But now that the State Department's up and running, he has started to push a lot of those. But there's obviously people that are going to continue. Absolutely, but there's a lot of relationships that Jared's made over time with different leaders, Mexico being one of them you mentioned, that are going to continue to have conversations with him and help facilitate. That doesn't mean by any means that it's being done without coordination with the State Department. Quite in fact, the opposite. He's continued to work with them and to facilitate an outcome, but he brings a perspective to this and began doing that during the transition. But again, it's not a binary choice where he's doing this at the expense of somebody else.
Jared Kushner's trip to Iraq today. Why is he there and not the Secretary of State today? What's the message that the president is sending by having Jared Kushner be the one to take this trip?
I don't think it's not a binary choice. In this particular case, both Jared Kushner and Tom Bossert, the assistant to the president for Homeland Security, are on the trip at the request and invitation of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who was going there and believed it was an opportunity for both of them. It's ironically the first trip for both Mr. Kushner and Mr. Bossert. They're going to receive briefings and updates with respect to what's going on the ground, our military involvement there, and our efforts to defeat ISIS. Going over and getting a first-hand understanding of the work that's being done to thank the government of Iraq, to see some of the sacrifice and progress that our team is making on the U.S. side is an opportunity that I think every government official and every member of the media should frankly take advantage of if offered that opportunity. Matt?
Last August, the president sharply criticized then President Obama for not making more of a public case for human rights throughout the Muslim world, throughout the Arab world. You guys have now said that it's better to raise those issues privately. I'm trying to understand the evolution of the thinking there. What changed his mind?
What changed?
The president's mind.
I think the president recognizes that those are conversations where we can, as I said in the statement, that there are areas of that we can work with in cooperation and concern, and that's best discussed privately in terms of how we address areas that need to be discussed like that in order to make progress on them. I don't think that should be a huge surprise.
Has the president been reaching out, or anyone in the administration, to Democrats in Congress? Can you say specifically who? And does he still see the opportunity to work more closely with Democrats, given the difficulties with the House Freedom Caucus?
Yeah, I think the president has made clear that he intends to work with anyone who wants to help him get to the number of votes. He obviously had a very productive discussion this weekend with Senator Paul. I know the Vice President's been actively engaged, as well as other members of the staff. With that, I'm going to end for today and let you guys have a good one. Take care.
Sean,
Thank you, guys.
Don't you like us no more?